It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Andy, Rene, and Tonya Engst from Tidbits are here. We're going to talk about the breaking news. Apple Music comes to Facebook Messenger. What? We'll also talk about the very interesting Marco Arment article about what Apple did wrong with the Mac Pro and what they should do next. And a question for Nvidia. Are you thinking Hackintoshes? It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 555, recorded Tuesday, April 18th, 2017, Shufflepuck Cafe. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Gazelle, the online marketplace for buying and selling used gadgets. Shop from a variety of certified pre-owned electronics or trade one in for cash. Give new life to a used device at Gazelle.com today. And by WordPress. More websites run on WordPress than any other platform. Create your website today and get 15% off at WordPress.com/MacBreak. That's WordPress.com/MacBreak. And by Tracker, a coin-sized tracking device that pairs with your smartphone and keeps you from losing your most valued possessions. Visit thetracker.com right now and enter the promo code MacBreak to receive a free Tracker Bravo with any purchase. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we cover every week the latest news from Apple, starting to my right, Rene Ritchie from imore.com, and the great
how you doing?
Frozen North, which is apparently melting.
It is. It's melting, and it's melting so fast that the snow has turned to water before the ground can unfreeze. So now there's just water everywhere, and my house has turned to Dagobah.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Usually I can walk along the beach. Now there's no beach. It's just trees that are underwater. And it's like dirty, muddy spring water.
Wow.
So, yeah.
We learn so much on this show.
It's Meteorological Weekly. Break Weekly. It is. Yeah.
Also from the great Northeast, Andy Yanako in the Chicago Sun-Times. Great to have you. Somewhere in New England.
Yes, in an undisclosed location, a marathon south. I will say.
Is today the marathon?
No, yesterday was the marathon.
Was
So yeah, I didn't get my finisher's medal, but I did get my didn't even try cap.
You know who might have gotten a finisher's medal? She's a runner along with her husband. They've both been on the show, but I've never had Tonya Engst on the show when I'm here. Tonya, it's so great to have you from Tidbits.com.
Hi, it is great to be here from Ithaca, New York, where it is mud season. So if you're a trail runner, you're very muddy, and I am a trail runner, so there's a lot of mud and daffodils going on here.
Don't show us your legs. They're all covered with mud. Look at all those numbers behind you. Wasn't that a moving and important picture from 1967 of the first woman to run in the Boston Marathon, who registered with just her initials so they didn't know she was a woman. It was an all-male event at the time. And there's a picture that's very famous of the race official, I think actually the creator of the race, trying to physically take her get out of my race, he said. Yep. She was able to run on.
Give me that number.
Give me that number. She was able to run on. And that number, Catherine Switzer, appeared 261 once again yesterday in the Boston Marathon as she ran it legally and officially, which is just such a great story, such a wonderful story. So she was a pioneer that made it possible for women to run in the Boston Marathon. She showed that they could actually finish. There she is.
See, Tonya, the men, we were just looking out for you women folk, because you had to prove that you were not too frail. Yeah. We just didn't want anything to happen.
Didn't want to get beat. Didn't want to get beat.
Let's just say running culture has changed a lot.
This was before Title IX. This is 1967. We were still mired in we had a few prejudices.
The hidden runners.
We had a few.
Yeah. They retired that number, by the way, 261. So that's pretty cool. Wow, there's a lot to talk about in the Apple world today. In fact, I'll start with something that just happened. We were, right before the show, streaming the live keynote, Mark Zuckerberg and company, at the Facebook Developers Conference, F8. And towards the end, they talked about the Messenger platform and announced that Apple Music and Spotify both will be making Messenger bots that you can play music, live stream music from your Facebook Messenger if you have a subscription. Apple Music.
All my dreams are made real.
Yeah. Is it?
No.
I'm trying to figure out who
like
wants
such a transitional technology. I don't know. It just seems like we can do this, and this is where it fits now, so we'll do it, and it's not a long term. I just can't imagine sitting there typing my music all day. It seems odd. Maybe I'm old.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But there are a lot of people who use use Facebook as like their front door to the entire internet, and so the more things that can be done by sharing, the most things be done by that feed, the less their chances of ever stepping out into the real world where they can actually do things unobserved. But yeah, no, it's a very smart move for Apple. You don't want to prevent people from being able to access your service wherever they happen to access music from. So I'm with you. I would never use it that way, but I'm glad that people who can use it that way and like to can use it that way.
It's like a text-based adventure. I pick up Apple Music, I turn left, I walk along the forest, I play Tidal.
All right, you have to tell us, Tonya, what's your favorite music app?
My favorite music app right now is Spotify for everything in the house. But I'm using Apple Music on my iPhone/Apple Watch a lot because I have a Bluetooth earbud to my watch and I can listen to tunes while I run.
I do like that, actually. The Bluetooth with the AirPods particularly. Can you run with the AirPods?
You know, I don't have an AirPod yet, but I have this like $10 cheapo thing. It charges on like a 4-inch long USB cable.
Perfect.
And it's just this little earbud thing. You stick it in your ear,
Perfect.
And if you lose it in a stream, you don't care because it was $10.
Right. Yeah, at $160, you really don't want to lose those AirPods.
It's really cool. We had Brian Hall on the podcast this week, and he was formerly head of Surface at Microsoft, but now he's at Doppler, and he was talking about how augmented reality through audio is coming faster than through video, which is what we talked about recently as well. And when you have like instant access to all your music in a little tiny thing that sits in your ear, it really is transformative.
The other thing, of course, that in fact was the topic number one at F8 was Facebook entering the augmented reality space, something we've long heard rumors Apple was going to do. And I think the pressure is on Apple now to announce something at its developers conference in June, WWDC. Facebook is going to basically enable the camera in the Facebook app to be an augmented reality tool and provide a platform for developers to add augmented reality capability within Facebook. Of course, this begs the question of, are developers burned by Facebook's multiple attempts to be a platform? Nevertheless, it's pretty exciting. It looks pretty cool. Or maybe you don't think so, Tonya. You're laughing at it.
Well, I skimmed through the F8 thing, so I haven't watched the whole thing carefully yet, but it's going to have a lot of potential. It seemed kind of sophomoric right now.
It's kind of silly. Yeah.
Just like for fun, or, you can imagine like middle school kids just getting in there and just going nuts with it. But I think where augmented reality gets really excited is in certain professions where being able to work on something, with your hands or talking to other people is enhanced by being able to see something on an augmented reality, display, however they get that working, so that you have access to more streams of information at once. Like that seems really interesting.
Yeah.
But, putting beards and hats on photos is cool in Facebook, but it doesn't really rock my world.
I think Facebook's ambitions for this, of course, go way beyond just another Snapchat filter. It's funny because yesterday, Snapchat must have seen this coming. Snapchat announced their new world filters. So Snapchat's had for a long time filters that you turn on yourself, turn yourself into something silly. But now when you go into the Snapchat filters, it says use the back camera, and you can impose things on your world. Not in any way nearly as sophisticated, however, as what Facebook was talking about. Facebook said, we know what the objects are. We can map around them. It could be a game, but it could be for business. It could be, it could be. You could add a second coffee cup next to the first coffee cup. So we'll see how sophisticated it is, and of course, it's going to be up to developers to implement it.
Yeah,
but it's
can have virtual hosts. You can just MacBreak Weekly with 3 virtual Facebook hosts.
We've always thought instead of using, we call the screens you guys live in. If you've ever seen the Twit videos, avatars. And the idea of this was it would be like you're sitting at the table, but it's it's clearly you're inside like Zod imprisoned inside a TV set. But we've always thought it'd be kind of interesting to have a 3D hologram of you actually sitting at the table. We actually know we could do it. I've just been lazy. But it would be
Alex
possible.
Lindsay could do it with bubblegum and
Right.
paperclip.
Yeah.
When you get the 3D hologram sitting at the table thing, I definitely want in on the beta test.
Deal. It's kind of creepy, but kind of fun too, right? We'd have to send somebody out to scan you, Tonya.
Yeah, well, that could happen.
Yeah, yeah. And you wouldn't, you could change hairstyles, change outfits. You could be
I've always wanted to have blue hair. So we
perfect.
could start there.
Easily achieved with this technology.
No problem.
Yeah. But Tonya's was actually absolutely hit the mark. It seems as though the places that are really doing great things with AR right now are people who are not trying to create the next Snapchat for VR or the next TV show or magazine or game. It's the people who can figure out a real specific need that it can address directly. Oddly enough, Google Glass, which of course was as an experiment, it was an experiment, but it's actually Google never killed it. They kept it alive and saying that anybody who wants to buy it and develop on it, and so now there are actually a bunch of companies who are having some success by selling it to the medical field, where again it's not for everybody in every situation, but when you are having when a doctor is performing a consultation, being able to have 3 or 4 people, other specialists all around the world, being able to see what this person sees and also throw in what they're doing into chat so they can ask the right questions. I particularly wanted to bring it up because I had to search it to make sure I remembered it. There was an actual a story yesterday from the marathon where there was a man who was visually impaired who was wearing Google Glass and essentially streaming his entire run to a helper or a friend who was basically, again, watching his point of view and warning him that, okay, you need to turn left over here, or, okay, there is a big pothole right in front of you. You may want to burr left in the next 20 yards. So I'm excited. If I'm not yet excited about any one thing I've seen in AR, I'm excited when I hear about this other avenue has decided to open up and basically allow clever people to figure out how to put AR into Facebook or figure out how to use AR creatively in YouTube, because Google isn't going to figure out, Facebook isn't going to figure out. It's going to be 3 people who suddenly decide that they want to go on 3 hours of sleep for 4 months because they have a great idea, and that's going to be the idea that's going to absolutely crack it for everybody.
Not to belabor the point, but because this is, after all, MacBreak Weekly, but it's pretty clear that Facebook is responding to Snapchat, and remember that when Instagram became a threat, they bought Instagram. When WhatsApp became a threat, they bought WhatsApp. They tried to buy Snap, and Snap wouldn't sell. In fact, it was a wise decision. Evan Spiegel and company made more money through the IPO than Facebook would have offered them. So now, if you're threatened by Snap, and I presume Facebook is, the next step is to crush them, and this is clearly a response. And in fact, the markets responded. Snap had a big jump in the market yesterday after they announced their world filters, and most of those gains have been erased in the stock market as soon as Mark Zuckerberg took stage and started talking about his response.
I mean, Google couldn't buy Facebook, and so they tried to do all sorts of social networks, and it never worked. And now Facebook is not the upstart anymore; it's the incumbent. And there's people on their heels.
Well, it's interesting because Facebook, and there's a good story by Matt Honan in BuzzFeed today about how, when you remember when Google did Google Plus, Facebook went wah, and they battened down the hatches, and they went 24/7 to find a response to that. And apparently
identity.
Yeah, apparently the same thing happened with Snap and Snapchat, and that this is the result of that. 6 months ago, saying we got to find a way to beat these guys. What's interesting is. Anything Facebook does is within the walled garden that is Facebook. Apple has an opportunity. By the way, Microsoft's ahead of everybody, although they don't have a consumer-facing product yet. They have been doing HoloLens for a while. It'll be very interesting. I think Apple and Microsoft are traditionally platform companies. Facebook's not. It's a social network, but it may turn itself into a platform company. What does Apple announce in June, or does Apple announce something in June in response to this?
I don't know what they can really announce. I think where Facebook's announcements are really relevant to an Apple show is that Facebook is, again, one of those places that they try to create a version of the web that's comfortable to people that are not comfortable in the broader web. There are a lot of people that are very, very comfortable making Facebook their portal to the entire internet. And the more they can do without leaving that familiar screen that they understand how the screen works. The screen gives them photographs of their adorable grandchildren and nieces and nephews and stuff like that. The better it is for them. So it's going to be. I think it's less a question of how can Apple create an augmented reality thing that's going to keep people from going away to other places. I think it's going to be more like how can they make sure that they can still get money from people who don't necessarily own an Apple product as their primary device. Because remember that as much as we love the Mac, it's still really a tiny minority of the desktops that are out there. Worldwide, the iPhone is still not the most popular phone platform in the world, which means that if Apple is going to continue to be as successful as they have been, they're going to have to make sure that they live in the world that they live in and not in a walled garden for themselves.
I think they've grown up, though. I mean, in the old days, we saw them try to make Ping a social network for music, and there were plans to make a social network for photons, and it was just kind of awkward and like your dad's or your mom's social network. Trying to make one, not trying to live on one. And I think we've seen with Clips, for example, a way where they didn't want to be Instagram, they didn't want to be Snapchat, they just wanted to make a front end that would let people sort of assemble videos that could live there or could live anywhere else more easily. And now I think their primary concern is, even though they're not the most popular or the most numerous mobile platform, they still own the premium market, and they want to make sure that people who do want to invest in iPhone or iPad have a really phenomenal Facebook or really phenomenal Instagram. They have really great cameras, really great sensors. And like I watch people, for example, playing reality games out there, and they're playing versus people with Android phones, and all you hear is complaints, it's glitching, I can't dodge, and they get really upset, and a lot of them say, I'm going to buy an iPhone. Because the people, even with an iPhone 6, they're playing smoothly, flawlessly. They're not missing dodges. They're not missing opportunities. They're getting great photos. And that starts to matter to people more because the peer group comes into play. And I think if Apple can concentrate on getting best-of-breed technology and best-of-breed integration with those things, then they have a really compelling story in the premium end where they like to operate.
Yeah, it feels like comparing Facebook to Apple, it's kind of like comparing, like apples to Chinese food or something. They don't really seem like similar pieces of produce or vegetables or fruit. So I think Apple is going to have their usual mix of hardware and software improvement. It's all going to get better. It's going to work more smoothly together. Facebook will probably work on it, but I can't think that Apple is putting a lot of thought right now into how to compete with Facebook because they're just so very different.
So, but if you credit the rumors and if you credit Robert Scoble that Apple's going to make a big push into AR this year, so you think that Apple, so if you were building a platform, then you go to the developers conference and say, hey, developers, look what we've got. It's coming out in iOS 11 this fall.
AR kit.
Get to work. That's essentially what Facebook did today.
Get excited.
Yeah. You don't anticipate something like that. You don't think there'll be AR kit.
We will see
the new phones.
Apple has all kinds of kits, right? And sometimes they turn into real things with real apps for real people pretty quickly, and other times it takes a really long time before we really see anything that would help Apple to compete beyond just attracting developers. So time will tell.
Can you do this with an iPhone? I ask you. This is transformative technology.
It turns out you can do that excellently.
Just perfectly well. This was done on an iPhone with Snapchat. This is their world filter.
And the rumor is the camera is going to be even better. They'll have 2 cameras on the front as well, so you can do your depth selfies with proper form modeling. And that sort of stuff appeals to people because, look, on the new iPhone, I can have those rabbit ears perfectly placed, and they track 100% with me. Where on the old iPhone or that Android phone, they're kind of janky. It looks like that ear is on my nose.
Yeah,
people start to notice that.
What was the #1 app on Mac for years? Photo Booth.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could do those weird transformations.
In the Apple Store, everyone was using the photo booth app. It was just a demo app of choice.
Right. All right. We're going to take a little break, come back. We will talk about Mark Gurman's new article, kind of listing all of the rumors about what we will see with the 10th anniversary iPhone, and we'll talk about what that could mean. And Marco Arment's very interesting, I thought very well thought out article about the Mac Pro, what it should have been, what it could be. That's all coming up. Rene Ritchie is here from imore.com. Andy Nacco from the Chicago Sun-Times. We welcome, for the first time I've been here, Tonya Engst Hey, congratulations. Tidbits. I thought, yesterday was Twit's 12th anniversary. I thought that was a long time in this business. You're celebrating what?
27 years of doing Tidbits. 27.
Oh, my. What day is the actual anniversary?
The actual anniversary was Monday.
Yesterday, just like us.
Yeah.
Only you're 15 years older.
Yeah, well, we started a really long time ago. So
it's kind of amazing.
We actually had to convert Tidbits to the web.
Wow.
Because there was no web when we started the thing.
Wow.
So we published in an email format called C-text, structure enhanced text. It was a very new and exciting thing then, and you actually can still read Tidbits in structure enhanced text if you so wish.
The Mac was only 6 years old when you started.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, that's really impressive. Well done, 27 years old. And that means you started it when you were 15.
A little older than that, yeah.
but you and Adam were pretty young. I mean, was this something that you started just like right out of college?
We were a couple of years out of college. I was working at Cornell University selling Mackintoshes, Engsts, and IBM PCs to folks who wanted them there. Wow. Adam was doing independent consulting, making like databases and backups for local firms, and we just felt that the world needed a newsletter about what was up with Apple Computer and other stuff, like the HP DeskJet. We thought that was pretty cool when Tidbits came out.
I remember, yeah.
Inkjet printer. So we started the thing. We actually distributed it as a hypercard stack.
What?
And it was like immediately popular. I mean, we were crashing computers all over the internet.
So great.
We had really big, distribution system going on for what the internet could do, and it just kept going from there. We really haven't ever had like a big business plan, or we've always just been small and informal, and it's still popular, and we still get up in the morning and we decide what to write about. It's pretty fun. It's
a real testament, though, to the quality of your journalism, your integrity, that you're still going strong. And 27 years later, you've got the Take Control books in print, and I love that. I mean, Twit is in a way modeled over what you're doing. It's not, we're not trying to take over the world. We're not trying to be, CNN. We just like our little corner of the universe, and I think that's fantastic. Well done. Congratulations to you both. That's great. Our show today brought to you by Gazelle. Oh, we haven't heard from them in a while, but as we're starting to talk about the new iPhone, Samsung Galaxy S8's coming out this week, might be time to think about Gazelle, the trusted online marketplace for both selling your old gear and buying your new gear. Trade in your old device for cash, or buy a certified pre-owned device, or do both. For trade-ins, go to Gazelle.com, find your device, and get an instant quote. They are locked in. Not you. They are locked in for 30 days. That means you have 30 days to get a new device, to transfer the data over, and then pull the trigger. Shipping is free. Payments are fast. You can get paid by check, by PayPal credit, or, of course, Amazon gift cards. And all in all, this is as painless a way as you can do it. Your offer is free. Your offer is guaranteed. And no wonder people love Gazelle so much. 2 million plus trade-ins. $175 million paid out to customers. But you might wonder, well, what happens to all those nice devices, those lightly used, gently used iPhones, or iPads? You can buy as well at Gazelle. Buy a certified pre-owned device. They've got a great selection, iPhone 5 through 7 Plus. They have iPad Airs, Minis, Pros, the regular iPads. Laptops too now, MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros. Great place to go to get a MacBook. If you don't want the touch bar, some of these slightly used MacBooks are a great deal. They even have Samsung Galaxy phones. Every device fully inspected. They have a 30-point test. They put all the devices through. They include even cosmetic things like scratch screens. They make sure that device is going to be loved by you, and it's always backed by a 30-day return policy. And of course, while they work with every carrier in the U.S., they're sold without carrier contracts, and that's nice, too. In fact, if you decide you want to buy there, they have financing at checkout through Affirm. You just give them basic information. Approval is instant. You'll get to pay it off at 3, 6, or 12 months with easy monthly payments through a bank transfer, a check, or a debit card. All you have to do is check that box that says financing with a firm at checkout. Get the best value on certified pre-owned devices. To buy or to sell, it is Gazelle, GAZELLE.com. Give new life to used electronics. Let's not put them in the landfill. Let's bring them to Gazelle. And if you're buying, especially if you're buying a replacement phone or a phone for a kid, or you just want to save some money, a great place to get your certified pre-owned devices. All late model. Gazelle.com, GAZELLE. That's where all my kids' phones come from, Gazelle. I'm not going to buy. Last people I'm going to buy a new phone for. The audacity to say yes, says Marco Arment, in a design culture of no. I thought Marco did a stunning job of really breaking down what happened with Apple. The 2013 Mac Pro, he gave us a list of the factors that led to its failure. It was more expensive than its predecessor, but it took out features that many customers still needed. He says, incidentally, parenthetically, the 2016 MacBook Pro has a similar problem. We know because Apple said it was designed to accommodate precisely two, not one, but two GPUs, each relatively low heat output. But it turned out, and I thought this was quite astute, CPU-heavy users didn't need the second GPU. GPU-heavy users needed hotter and, frankly, more recent GPUs. So the only configuration you could get was either over-spec'd and overpriced for some users or underpowered for other users. And then, of course, less than a year after its release, it missed the 5K Retina revolution on the desktop. And, sad to say, and this really bugged me, it was beaten in CPU performance by the new generation iMacs, and Apple never updated it. So he says the last factor was poor timing, could have been fixed with regular updates, but the first two are just major design flaws. They made the wrong choices. He says, I understand why Apple went down that path. It's all in the context that led to my favorite line ever spoken in an Apple keynote. Can't innovate anymore, by Phil Schiller.
It's going to haunt him forever.
He's never going to live that down. He said Mac Pro is the worst place in the entire Apple product line to drastically remove capabilities and versatilities and then not update it for over 4 years. Overly aggressive minimalism fails most spectacularly when there's no clear consensus among consumers on what can be removed. He points out there's kind of like 5 different categories for Mac Pro users, and they each had different needs. And by cutting out features, they kind of failed everybody. Video creators need as many CPUs as possible. Audio creators need one fast CPU, but fast interfaces. Photographies need lots of cores, lots of storage, lots of RAM, and, of course, great displays. Software developers, Mac gamers, PC builders all have different requirements. And so the Mac Pro, the preceding Mac Pro, the cheese grater Mac, could fulfill those needs with different configurations, not the new Mac Pro. So he says if you were going to distill those requirements down to a single word, it's versatility.
Yeah. Exactly
what the 2013 Mac Pro didn't offer.
Yeah, and this is what I've been going on and on about. It's if Apple lets people down, it's because they keep trying to predict what makes sense for people and saying, good news, we solved all your problems, and anything we took away that you think you need, don't worry, you're wrong, you don't need this, and we're going to prove you wrong.
Piss people off, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's some people are. It's I don't know if it's a titanic exodus from Apple products, but I don't think they've been proven to be right. I think that you need to have at least one product that says this. You have the ability to figure out what this is for yourself, and it also leads it to make some. I still think silly choices. There was John Syracuse had a great tweet just a few days ago. It was a caption simply, "I've got a 6 hour flight and plenty of music to listen to," and then. It's a picture of course, an iPhone 7 at the bottom of it, and him holding a headphone jack.
And I don't have an adapter.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's I'll Yes, yeah, I won't keep harping. I still think it's a stupid thing for them to have done, particularly since other makers that are punching at that same weight class have not had a problem adding features while keeping a headphone jack. I really think that it's a cultural thing inside engineering that they have to say that, look, I know that you've taken great pride in saying, hey, we skate to where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is, but you seem to be spending a lot of time just standing on the ice with the stick in your hand while there seems to be a lot of action on the other side of the rink where things are happening, and you can't just continue to have faith that, hey, we know it's better, we're calling the right shots and everything is falling our way, when you have a number of really public failures in which people are saying this is not the product for us. It's now 2 years later and it's still not the product for us. Again, I'll just say again, 2016 MacBook Pro, and please cut copy paste things I've been saying for the past 3 or 4 months about that. I hope that they listen to advice like Marco's and say that, look, you have to allow people to find their own version of awesome in your products, and you can't do that when you start taking away things that they're telling you that they need.
Our own Patrick Delahanty puts it very succinctly. He says, Apple is skating to where they think the puck will be, but we're playing baseball. Actually, let me read you, and then we'll continue on to finish the thought, because remember, the title of this is The Audacity of Yes. And Apple's really been all about, since that famous moment when Steve Jobs comes back to Apple from his wandering in the desert with Engst, and says, we've got to learn to say no. No is the most important word. He says, I hope that Apple has learned this and is confident enough in its own abilities and innovation to stare down a minimalist design culture of no and ship a maximum viable product at the top of its line that says yes to everything we can throw at it. It's a kind of a redefinition of Apple and its culture, I think. You agree, Rene?
Yeah, no, it's a really great piece. Marco has a tendency to knock it out the park every once in a while, and that's definitely one of them.
He might have learned from Overcast, which was quite a minimalist podcast app, right?
Well, I think he absolutely did, because famously he didn't want a settings button, and then all the hoops he had to jump through in order to not use a settings button was more work than just having a settings button. So he added a settings button, and everyone learns those sort of lessons. But with Apple, I mean, the danger of their thing is Steve Jobs used to say we have one swing every year, but that's all Babe Ruth needs. But once in a while, you miss those swings. And if you're in the habit of hitting them, it's even worse, because you start to lose conception. Like, if everyone's telling you you're wrong all the time and you succeed anyway, you start to think, I don't listen to those people because they're telling me I'm wrong all the time. And then you have a culture that's very dominated by alpha designers, and they have agendas, and they have the chance to slip things in. Like, I'm pretty sure that headphone jack has been on their chopping block for years, and they were just never allowed to do it. And finally they say, well, if we do this, and they were given the green light, and they've wanted to kill that for years. Finally, they can kill it. Someone wanted that Mac Pro design for years. Finally, you have a chance to do it. And you make a lot of calls. Some of them you get right, and obviously some of them you get wrong. But when you make so few products, like Apple makes so few products, every time you get it wrong, it's a disaster of a scale.
It wouldn't hurt so much if they hadn't had a Mac Pro that was really pretty much perfect.
Why did they? I mean, so Apple has often left an older product on the market while they've introduced something new that was controversial. And I think Andy spoke well to this. It was last week or the week before. Like, just leave that cheese grater on the line. Say, this is something new we're trying. We're betting big on OpenCL, but we know the market's not there yet. So we're going to keep the old cheese grater, running. Update that as much as you need it. And if you start noticing they're updating the cheese grater more and not updating the new Mac Pro at all, you can read those tea leaves real easily.
Yeah. Tonya, your thoughts? You used to sell Engst computers.
I used to sell Engst computers, which was really fun.
I wish you don't have any lying around still, do you? Leftovers?
Just a couple T-shirts and a couple stickers.
Oh man, I would love to have one of those.
I thought it was a great article. I loved the way Marco laid out some of the different needs of some of the high-end users. I mean, the thing is with Apple and Macintosh and the ethos and the culture that's been created around it, these pro users, they might not be a very big percentage of the actual users of Apple products, but they're our most creative folks. There are photographers, our videographers, the folks who do all the great things with music. If they're not using Macs, then something is really wrong. And I thought it was great that Apple has kind of realized, hey, wait a minute, we have to make something that maybe is a little bit more of like an erector set Macintosh, where things can be customized in a lot of different ways. And that they've actually come out in public and said, hey, we're working on this. really great. I can't figure out how Apple lost track of that to begin with, and I fear that it speaks to some deeper problem, within the closed confines of Apple, that we don't really know what's going on there, because it seems like pretty obvious that these super high-end users have really special needs, but that they're really special to Apple. Like, without them, Apple sort of, loses an arm. So I thought it was a great article. I hope everyone at Apple reads it and takes it to heart, and that we can have products from Apple that are very simple and kind of one-trick ponies that are good for a lot of people who don't have very fancy needs. But I think Apple could take their design capabilities and all their resources and make the most amazing machines for these professional people that would let them just do incredible, artistic works for us all, and also for scientists who need just incredible data crunching capabilities and tools for working with that creatively. So there's so much potential, and I love the article. I think it's something that everyone should go read if you haven't already. It's a really good article.
It crystallizes things we've been saying with far more words over the last few weeks. If you do want to play with an Engst cube, parenthetically, apparently you can go to the Living Computer Museum in Seattle. Paul Allen has assembled quite a collection. This is Steve Jobs' personal Macintosh. There's Woz with Paul Allen. But there's also a Engst cube, a running Engst cube you could actually play with. He's got 3 Apple Ones, including Jobs' personal Apple One, that they've got running. So pretty neat stuff.
Didn't Steve throw that one away?
Yeah, I think I remember that story.
He was renovating his office or moving to the office, and there was just boxes and boxes of what he deemed to be crap on the aisle. And someone came around and said, "Look, Steve, this is an original Apple One. Shouldn't this be in a museum?" And he was very anti-museum. So, take that. Just get this crap out of my office. Okay, yep. I will take Steve Jobs' original Apple One. Thank you very much.
That's exactly right.
Instead of a 401k.
This was back in 1985. Jobs had been fired. An engineer, one of the company's first employees, Don Hutmacher, saw the Apple One and grabbed it. Don passed away last year, and his wife has given it to the museum, which is just fantastic. The team, it says, had their suspicions, but a tag inside the metal chassis, and in fact that it had a chassis at all, since these all came just as bare boards, suggested it was more than a rare Apple One. It was the rarest signed BF, that's Bill Fernandez, employee number 1, 5 April 77. This definitely, according to the experts, was Steve's actual Apple One, and you can see it working.
Apple on that keyboard.
That's pretty cool. The Living Computer Museum up in Seattle. I might have to make a trip up there to see that. It's nice that Paul Allen's recognizing, how important this stuff is and is preserving it. Interesting. We talked last week about Nvidia making a updated 1080, its high-end video card that would work with a Mac Pro. And I think we probably missed the real import of all this. It isn't, because it won't work it'll work in a cheese grater Mac, a 2012 cheese grater Mac, but probably overpowered that Titan XP for a cheese grater Mac. It's for Hackintoshes.
I'm trying it today, Leo.
Are you?
I ordered one. It arrives today.
How much was it?
As the show's, it was like $1,000 Canadian. I got the TI. I didn't get the XP.
So the XP is $1,200.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Canadian dollars, that's probably $1 million. But I brought the cheese grater out of mothballs. I updated it. It wouldn't go all the way to Sierra, so it's updated to El Cap. I was actually doing that as the show started. It was just
oh my god, great! I want to hear how it works. But
after the show, that card's going in, and we're going to see what we can do.
But I have to admit that now that upon reflection, somebody observed this in an article. This probably wasn't intended for Apple Macintoshes. This is a Hackintosh board. Interesting, huh? I mean, they can't say that unless it's a board for some cheese grater like PCI Express Mac Pro that's coming out later this year.
That's being tested.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because I don't imagine the Hackintosh market is worth much investment on Nvidia's part.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, it won't work with the trash can Mac, so it's kind of a puzzle.
Are there AGPU boxes or eGPU boxes you could shove it in? I don't know how those are still kind of wonky.
You could use an eGPU box. That really wouldn't give you much throughput, though. I don't think that would be the market. Well, maybe it is the market for it.
Hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, don't you think that's intriguing? I don't know what that means.
There's just such diversity amongst people who are buying cards like that I can't imagine there isn't a market for anything that you'd like to create. You're right. I can't think of specifically who this be targeted at, but again, there's so many. The build your own community is like I've got my own really weird ideas about what I need to have a productive day. What my little plastic pal can help me do, and this card seems to be exactly the missing thing in my entire life. And you may as well make it.
Yeah,
it's some of all nerds.
It's not up to me as the manufacturer to decide whether something is useful or not. My lowly job is to just manufacture it and then let the users decide how to make good of it.
And it isn't to be complete. It's not a whole new card. You have to do drivers, obviously. That's probably the largest effort. And then the connectors are slightly different. The power connectors and the not the EPCI connector, or that's the same, right? But I think you need a special, as I remember, because I did upgrade.
Find out.
Well, I did upgrade my cheese grater with an update with the best card I could put into it a couple of years ago, and it's actually a decent card. We use it as a Windows machine to game with, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm tempted, but that's a lot of money to spend. Well, good. I'll read your article.
For science.
Yes. Thank you for doing
George's
that.
husband's going to do it for us because he's, into that kind of stuff.
Oh,
He
neat.
can drive VR off of it, which,
Well, that's one of the things that's missing, right? It doesn't have no Mac has sufficient GPU to run an Oculus Rift, and the folks at Oculus said it's never, we're not going to ever do a Mac version. There's no market for that.
The former guy at Oculus.
Yeah, Palmer Luckey, who is now, luckily enough, just living on the beach, enjoying.
Spending more time with his money.
He's left to spend more time with his money.
Well, that's the
Do you
thing,
think
right?
they wrote that in the memo? Because that would be awesome.
That's the famous saying. It's like we're inviting you to spend more, you and your family to spend more time with your money.
That would be awesome. Apple's working. Let's do the Gurman article, actually. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break, come back. Mark Gurman has synopsized all the rumors for the iPhone, and it's Mark Gurman, it gets a lot of credibility. What will we see in September? We'll talk in just a moment, but first a word from WordPress. Love the WordPress. I'm setting up my WordPress blog, leolaporte.blog. Going to move everything over to WordPress, and I have to say, now I'd ran WordPress hosted for years, and this is my first experience with WordPress.com, and it is awesome. And one of the things I love about WordPress.com, you see, it's a little plain. I still have to dress it up a little bit. Although it was so fun because I totally was able to import all my content, going back to my earliest blogging experiences. I think in 2001. I have to go to the archives to see that. But it's it's really nice when you could take your blog and just move it over, lock, stock, and comments. So WordPress.com is nice because, of course, they're hosting it. They keep it up to date. They apply all the patches. They offer dozens, many, many, many themes of all different kinds. And you're in a community. So WordPress.com drives traffic to your site, which is awesome. If you're a small business and you don't have a website, you're kind of missing the boat, right? If you're a photographer and people can't see your portfolio online, if you're a restaurant and people can't book online or see a menu online, if you're a plumber and people can't just look you up, it's like not having a phone number. You got to have a website. And when you create a website at WordPress.com, you can make a big impact on that business. 27% of all websites run on WordPress. Does that tell you something? Hundreds of customizable themes. You pick a template. It's easy to change a template at any time. Built-in search engine optimization, built-in social sharing. They've got a publicized feature that automatically shares posts to all your social media networks and, of course, to the network at WordPress.com. You can even share previously published posts so you can go back in time, have a throwback Thursday if you want. And when you build your site on WordPress.com, you're going to get great support 24/7. answers to your questions. There are great developers who, I mean, there are more developers for WordPress than any other platform who can help you, designers who can help you, and we're going to help you. We're going to get you 15% off any new plan purchase right now. WordPress.com/MacBreak. Find out why 27% of the websites in the world run on WordPress, and including many of the biggest publications. WordPress.com/MacBreak. 15% off your brand new website. I've known these guys since they were in beta, and I've loved these guys and have been a fan of WordPress forever. And I believe this is the first time they've ever advertised on podcasts. They were a little nervous about it, but I got to tell you, I'm just so happy. Gave them a big hug. WordPress.com/MacBreak. And the Anako Chicago Sun-Times, Rene, RichieImore.com, Tonya Engst, who is briefly sitting down and not running from Tidbits.com.
I bet she's running.
Moment. She's running. We just can't see it. It's
a
muddy.
treadmill chair.
It's muddy out there. Mark Gurman, who's now, of course, at Bloomberg. Big article. Sources say Apple to unveil 3 iPhones this fall, including a revamped iPhone with an all-screen front, curved glass, and a stainless steel frame, along side upgrades to the current models. This is not. I didn't read anything in here that we hadn't read in other places, but when it's all put together, I think you get a fairly complete picture. And of course, one of the things Gurman refers to is this week, the new Samsung Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus come out. OLED screens, almost edge to edge, certainly edge to edge left and right, almost edge to edge top to bottom. Built-in home button underneath the screen. A lot of really kind of raising the ante, and a lot of things that I think everybody expects Apple to do. Apple's made a deal with Samsung, which is, Samsung kind of owns OLED screens. They made a deal with Samsung for, I think the number keeps going up. The last number I saw, 100
all
million.
The rest, whatever was left.
For whatever they aren't using. We'll take it all. Amazing that many, but that's the problem Apple's facing.
Yeah, it's not unique to Apple either. Google has I think last week there was a news item that they have put something like $800 million investment into, I think it's LG, because they need to have some sort of source for any kind of OLED screen for the next version of their Pixel phone. And so they're basically saying, what if we were to buy a company essentially that makes OLED screens? We don't care what kind of screens they are. If you have some machine with the letters O, L, E, and D in it, we will give you money to just say, please sell us screens at the end of the year. So yeah, this is going to be a problem for a lot of companies.
So Apple kind of broke the mold a little bit with the iPhone 7. That was the third year in a row, really, pretty much, for that design. So this next one is going to be a big deal. Although maybe I'm reading this wrong. I'm reading from this and other rumors that there'll be 3 phones, 2 of which will be very much like the iPhone 7, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a constraint on how many let's call it iPhone 8 for the sake of expediency. There's going to be a limit on how many iPhone 8s they can make, and the technology in it is going to be expensive. And they've shown some elasticity with iPhone pricing, like they bumped the price of the Plus model up $20 this year, and you got a much better camera for it. But if there's only one iPhone and it starts $100 more, that's a problem, especially when people are used to getting iPhones at certain price points and a choice in different sizes. And this is the opposite of the Mac Pro thing, where they're not just can't innovate anymore. My ass, here's the iPhone 8 is your only choice for iPhone.
Yeah.
That's it. They are going to keep the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus and rev them to iPhone 7s and iPhone 7s Plus. And that also takes a tremendous burden off the iPhone 8. It does not have to be everything to everybody. Absolutely. It does not have to be the same price point. It doesn't have to be as inexpensive. And also, it's a risk. Apple's betting big on this, and there's a lot of new technologies in it. So if it's not as audacious as they hoped it would be, it's also, you've got these other 2 iPhones that are exactly what you thought they were going to be, and it de-stressed the situation quite a lot.
Now, this may be completely out of left field, but we have seen a number of articles, CNBC also reported this, that Apple's having trouble with this fingerprint sensor, this embedded fingerprint sensor. And according to an analyst at Pacific Crest, they put it out in their newsletter, there may be a delay, or they may... Listen to this. The anticipated move to a full-screen OLED panel, I'm quoting Pacific Crest, in the coming iPhone 8/X eliminates the physical home button, which necessitates a move to a virtual home button and an optical fingerprint sensing solution to read fingerprints to the OLED panel.
Fun.
At this point, says Pacific Crest, we do not believe Apple's optical fingerprint module provider has firm orders for production.
It's not so. Financial analysts, I would just disregard them en masse. But the basic idea is that Apple always has multiple prototypes. Some are audacious and some are conservative. And moving the touch, they've already virtualized the home button. The physical home button is gone. It's a virtual home button now, and that part works fine. It's getting it underneath the screen that's proving a challenge. Samsung had the same thing. They wanted, I think it's called Synaptics, the technology they use for their Touch ID sensor. They wanted it under the screen in the Galaxy S8, and they just couldn't do it. The technology wasn't there, so they had to put it on the back instead, and they put it, next to a little camera thing. Apple's trying the same thing. Apple bought the company that makes their technology, Authentic, several years ago, and they're launching 6 months after Samsung, and maybe they will solve this problem. And the more audacious prototype does, in fact, try to solve the problem by putting the Touch ID sensor under the screen. And it remains to be seen how that'll work for accessibility. Like, will it be haptics? Will it be a little divot? Like, how are they going to solve for where's the home button if you're hard or have no vision? But the more conservative prototypes are on the back, because that's where you go if you can't put it on the front because of all this
Pacific
technology.
Crest extrapolated this to kind of a shocking statement that they think that it's possible there will be no fingerprint sensor on the iPhone 8 and they'll rely on biometric instead.
What is biometric?
That's
like iris
funny.
scanners?
Thank you.
I mean, that's the ones that
Face-
everyone's so
face
happy with it on the
scanners.
GS8.
Yeah.
Everyone's really loving
it's-
it on the GS8. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that-
It's been a long winter. We could all use a good laugh. Thank you, financial
Okay,
analysts.
good. All
Yeah,
right.
but everything. Yeah, Rene really had it on point. It's you'd be surprised. My specific knowledge is usually of what goes on behind the scenes of these things. I was usually like 3 or 4 models back, but it's always surprising to me at how late what might think to be a critical decision is finalized. Like they will have several different kinds, and there are going to be people arguing for one point or another, and things that might have seemed like, well, we're definitely not moving forward with a new phone unless it has this feature. And then they finally decide that, okay, here's everything we will have to do to make this work and all the risks we're going to take. And then out of what seems like a very late date, boom, that feature is gone. My usual line of thinking is that if there's rumors of something being in trouble, it's not really for the new iPhone. I usually don't give that a lot of credibility until about June, sometimes even July, because I feel as though the design is not 100% up in the air. But the idea of, are we going to have a physical? Are we going to remove the home button or from the front of the screen? Are we going to move it, or are we going to make it completely embedded inside the glass? That, I believe, that could be finalized as late as June or July. So yes, I have no doubt that anything they're doing that is that out of the woods is going to be hard to engineer. I do think that one of the reasons why I love this idea of Apple having a third phone called the iPhone 8 is because if they say from jump that, by the way, we're making this in limited quantities, this is a special edition of the phone, it sort of sets people up to think that you may not be able to get this, or you may have to wait a few months to get yours. I think that it's quite okay for people to say, look, you are a maker of phones. You make the iPhone 7. You had all of this news out about how you're launching the iPhone 7. Why can I not buy an iPhone 7 within a week of the date that you have launched this, or within a month of the date that you have launched it? Why do I have to get the 4 gigabyte storage version, because that's the only one that anybody has anywhere in North America? But if you're saying that we have the super special iPhone 8, you're going to wait till January to get it, we're going to charge you $200 or $300 more to get it. Yeah, then in some ways it will make you feel even more special for having spent $200 or $300 to say that, ooh, I have one of these and you don't have one of these. Oh, you only have the best in class iPhone 7s. Ooh, I have the better than best in class one.
John Gruber famously said that one of the iPhone's strengths was affordable luxury, and it was like that Coke line.
Oh,
everybody drinks the same Coke. The president and the janitor drink the same Coke, and now everybody, like people in China, everybody has like seen the iPhone as a status symbol that was affordable, and now you run the risk of like an iPhone edition thing where maybe there's resentment towards them not being affordable.
The iPhone has never been affordable. That's not a good argument. It has always been. It started off as being crazy expensive. They had a level of build that was so high that for other people to meet it, other boats sort of had to rise in the water with it. But now we're talking about a $700, $800 phone that is jockeying against other super premium $700 and $800 phones, but in a marketplace where you can get a really good phone for $200 or $300. And this is not a cut rate budget phone, but one that if you're okay with having, some sort of bezel on the screen, if you're okay with having a camera that simply takes really good pictures in low light and cannot take pictures that see through time, if you're okay with having a, oh my God, filthy, vulgar plastic somewhere on the body instead of having milled out of a single block of pure unobtainium, perhaps we can sell you a phone for $250, and the cheap ones go for $100. So the idea of it's always been I really think this is actually a smart way for Apple to go. I don't think they are conceptually or even physically able to make an affordable anything. But I do think that in a world in which it's going to be really hard for me to put 1, 2, 3, 4 premium $800 phones side by side and point to one of these and say that this is objectively better than all the rest. It's all going to be, do you like the styling at this point? I think that for Apple to say, we're going to do what we do best, we're going to make phones where we're going to charge you a couple $100 more, but I keep coming back to the phrase, the Cartier cigarette box, as a beautiful, joyful item that you just enjoy holding in your hand and taking out of your pocket and looking at, and then putting on your nightstand. Most of the reviews of the people who had the Galaxy S8 early are coming out today or yesterday, and most of the praise for it isn't anything about the features it has. It's, oh my God, it looks so beautiful. I think CNET actually started, this is the most beautiful phone I've ever held in my hand. So, but Apple can totally fight that battle. It's like, oh my God, you're giving us home field advantage, and when you let us start off with an Invisible Man on second, if you want to fight us on beautiful styling, we are willing to fight that battle. So their idea of saying we're gonna create another version that's another leap ahead, not necessarily in features, but we are going to have something like an edition where you will not believe how beautiful an object this is. That is such a strong play for Apple to make. So I hope that they do go forward with that sort of thing.
I mean, I have to. I'm hard pressed. I mean, this iPhone 7 Plus in jet black is as close. I mean, what do you think, Tonya? I mean, isn't that as close to an object of perfection? It's hard to imagine. What would you do in a next generation iPhone to make it more beautiful?
I mean, it is Apple's job to convince us that no matter what their phone is, that it's beautiful. In fact, it is so much more beautiful than the beautiful one they had a year ago that it's time to shell out another $500, $600, $700,
Exactly.
$800 for this more beautiful thing.
How do you do that?
So it's partly, it's marketing magic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the phones have been totally beautiful for like a decade. It's like Charlie Brown with the football, right? Every year we go in and we're like, I have a beautiful phone. And then Apple announces their new phones, and somehow 3 hours later, your phone isn't beautiful anymore. You need a new one.
Oh, dear. I hope that doesn't happen. Actually...
Oh, it's edge-to-edge screen. It's distance charging. You know the old bag of tricks, Leo. It's 2 cameras in the front.
I think it's OLED may be critical. Because you can look at an OLED screen and, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with the iPhone 7 LED screen, LCD screen at all, but OLED jumps at you a little bit more, and I think people put those side by side. That might be, I guess that might be sufficient.
Yeah, it'll be more visually awesome in some important way, for sure. It's because that's what Apple does.
And
go team, right?
This is so close to just a perfect black slab as an objet.
It's a perfect. It is just so perfectly black and smooth and shiny.
Yeah, and this is the jet black. This is the piano black one, the shiny one, and that's just my only point of reference. But I just feel like that's just, man, that is really nice.
Less bezel. They're going to delete the bezels.
Yeah.
Okay, less bezel. Yeah,
and I would have been the person saying, okay, less bezel, who cares, or not who cares, but okay, that's nice, but who cares? Until I actually held like a true bezel-less phone with a curved screen. It's like, well, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is
ask me Friday. Ask me Friday. In fact,
a lot of happy chemicals are going through my brain right now.
Well, it makes
very
Saturday, Friday, I get a Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, the bigger one, which is the same size as that this, but a 6.2-inch screen, a considerably larger screen on the same size body. I'll hold them side by side. Actually, on the new screensavers, we're going to have the S8, the S8 Plus, and I'll hold it up. To date, as beautiful as the S7 was, as beautiful as the Note 7 was, this is still kind of
I'm not someone who gets excited about, oh good, another phone, another rectangle with rounded corners. How exciting! but the jet black one, I think that's the most beautiful phone that Apple has made. Or excuse me, maybe it's side by side with, I think, the iPhone 4 and 5. I still like that aluminum frame design. But man, that is a design that is worth waiting an extra month and a half for if you're on the wait list for it.
Yeah. And you may be.
But it's also it's a personality thing. So like, just speaking for me, I don't really like the black phones. I don't like the slate gray look. I like the lighter aluminum look. I like the white. I don't like rose gold. Apparently some people do. But it seems like Apple does sort of create an aesthetic and sort of try to persuade you that you like it. But I think it's also really important that they have some different colors and different models.
Right. Oh, I agree 100%. Do you have your phone there, Tonya?
Yeah, and I've got this case.
See, that's the thing.
Funny case.
Right, you put it in a case. So.
Yep, and I put it in a case because it's too slippery.
Yes.
I'm always carrying it around the house, going like, "Hey Siri, this. Hey Siri, that."
Right.
And we have tile floors, so I don't want to drop it.
And I bought a case ahead of time for the Samsung, but this one I've never put in a case because
you can't.
It feels like sacrilege.
It's too awesome.
Right. I think that's another vote in favor of having the super wonderful like iPhone edition. That this is going to be the one where it seems like sacrilege to put it in a case of any kind.
Or you need
what color did you order?
One to just sit around looking beautiful, and one to use in a kind of a practical way. You know, like on a trail run.
Oh, like
I would. But see, I don't ever go out of the house or risk my life or limb in any way. So
the fake jewelry that what color Galaxy S8?
I got the orchid, which is nice. I don't know what it's kind of a slightly purple.
Yeah, I like that one.
Nice.
You can get black, silver, or whatever orchid is, and the only reason I got orchid is because it's not black or it's well because I have to show people, right?
Yeah, Apple's making like just such incredibly good like iPads and iPhones, and even some of their MacBooks are really nice. It's odd, but the thing that I'm most looking forward to is them sort of breaking free of the stultifyingly boring colors. And hey, look, it's a rounded rectangle. Like, oh, okay,
Dalmatian.
can you put? It's like we're delaying this product for 7 weeks because we thought it was done, but then we found some scattered grams of joy in the design. We just have to make sure we quash all of the joy from this to make sure that it seems like something that you'll be issued at a job that you are sad to find out you will definitely have for the rest of your life.
I'll have to see but when I look at the pictures, it feels more like a device, and the S7 Plus feels like something alien technology might have come up with and left behind by accident.
Not HR Geigers.
It's just, this feels like something, kind of a computer. But but that's a picture, so I'll let you know when I hold it in my hot little hands. The theme of this show is Apple's challengers. You got Facebook challenging it on augmented reality. You've got Samsung challenging it on phone design and capability. And really, and the question, and you get deafening silence from Apple, is what are they going to do to respond? I think one of the most important paragraphs in Mark Gurman's article at Bloomberg is Apple has tested multiple prototypes, including some versions that use curved glass and stainless steel. In other words, at this point, it's still too early to know what they're going to ship. Right?
True every year. I mean, there were iPhone 4 prototypes with NFC in them, which was way before iPhone 4 shipped. There was an iPhone 4 prototype that was big, way before the iPhone 6 shipped. They literally have the money to test everything.
Is Andy, what you said, like June is when if they're going to manufacture these in quantity for a September or maybe October ship date, when do they have to start manufacturing?
I feel like it's between 2 and 3 months. I feel like they have to have this. We're not the drop deadline is 2 or 3 months before they intend to at least announce.
So that would be July for an October ship date.
Well, and then they have a lot of wiggle
expect.
room. They have a lot of wiggle room because historically, sometimes it's kind of early September, and sometimes it's really moving into late October. Nobody would really get too hung up on them if it was anywhere in that window. And I'm sure there are project managers at Apple right now with these like huge, spreadsheets or whatever they're using with like plan A, plan B, plan C, plan K, what if, and they'll start sorting it out. And sooner or later, if they haven't sorted it out, some, big grown up with a big stick is going to come in and say, okay, folks, June 15th, nobody leaves, nobody eats until we have a plan that we can do.
I do wonder, though,
and everybody's got to be terrified of that because the big stick is made out of one stick of milled aluminum.
The nice thing though is the 7S and the 7S Plus will ship, so that gives them some wiggle room.
They have time. But do you think Apple now at this point is kind of at least somewhat fatalistic about the fact, well, look, we couldn't get the AirPods out on time. Are they kind of just saying, well, it'll be constrained supply. We know we won't be able to ship as many phones as we could sell until January? Are they just kind of like, that's the way it is?
They were not happy about any of that. And I believe they've made internal changes that have,
I'd say that, but it keeps freaking happening. So, I mean,
they better not be. They've got to execute. If they want to stay at the top of the heap, they've got to execute. They've got to get people in there.
Don't you think they said that before and before and before, and it still happens?
So, but that's the duality, Leo. Like sometimes we say, why doesn't Apple just wait and do it a little bit better? And they did that with the pen. Like they changed the tip of the pencil at the last minute because it felt a little bit better, and that resulted in delays. So, do we want them to get it out on time, or do we want them to take their time and get it better? And there's people internally clashing on that issue too. It's embarrassing when it happens in public, but it's we in this same show have argued both sides of that thing. So I can only imagine what it's like when you're shipping the product.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true that by delaying the AirPods and making them so constrained, I'm sure they hate that because that is literally they're leaving money on the table. Right. There is one of the simple rules of business is that when someone is approaching you and giving you with their money in the hand, the first thing you do is take the money out of that hand, put a product in their hand, and get them out the door before they think twice about it. So there's definitely there's nobody thinking that this is still a third rail and they're still really embarrassed about it. However, I do think that it's time to get rid of the culture that says that if this product is shipping on October 3rd, you have to have it by October 8th. It's okay to have to wait a couple months to get something. This is not the technology that will when it's the new version of the Apple Watch that can help diabetics observe their blood sugar, then it will be critical for people to have it as early as possible. But when it's something that it's a new case design, the camera is a little bit better and has a little bit more application RAM, that it's okay to wait a couple months for. But yeah, it is the difference between playing in the NFL and just playing a flag football league after work. It's like the big companies, they are able to not only ship on time, but also make sure that they're shipping in quantity on time. So this is something that Apple continues to have to solve this problem to continue to prove that they are playing in the NFL.
It's interesting you should mention diabetes because CNBC had the story that Apple has a secret team working on the holy grail for treating diabetes, a group of biomedical engineers looking for non-prick sensors, non-invasive sensors that can do continuous blood sugar monitoring. Of course, type 2 diabetes is epidemic in this country. I have it. A lot of people have it because we've been eating so poorly, thanks to revised dietary recommendations that turned out to be wrong from some years ago. And so I think this is a great business. Apparently, this was initiative was, according to CNBC, envisioned by Steve Jobs. He wanted to do this. CNBC quotes 3 people familiar with the matter. The initiative is far enough along that Apple's been conducting feasibility trials at clinical sites across the Bay Area and has hired consultants to help it figure out the regulatory pathways. Of course, you would have to have FDA approval for something like this if it were going to be used by physicians. The efforts have been going on for at least 5 years. Jobs envisioned wearable devices like smartwatches being used to monitor important vital signs, oxygen levels, heart rate, and blood glucose. They acquired a company in 2010 called Core which does something like this, and their core CEO, Bob Messerschmidt, is now on the Apple Watch team. Would make sense, you know. This would, I'll tell you what, that one thing alone would sell millions of Apple Watches, no matter what the price.
That opens. When I read that, it does open now some ethical questions. If you have some technology that could, this is truly one of the holy grail technologies for management of diabetes, and it's been pursued by a lot of different companies, by a lot of different industries for a lot of years. So if they were to crack this, and would it be ethical for Apple to hold a patent on this technology and limit it to solely to Apple products? It feels a little bit like saying that we have a cure for these 3 types of cancer, but you can only order the drug through an Apple TV.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
Nobody
would do that. That you couldn't do that.
Yeah, I took it weird because like this whole article was weird to me because I'm pretty sure this has been reported on since before the Apple Watch came out. It is it is like the Josh Lyman secret plan to fight inflation that he no longer supports. It's just entirely not like it's so public knowledge. And they had an article a while ago saying that the FDA approval process was why Jeff Williams was in charge of health devices, not just Apple Watch, because they'd have to spin off other devices if the regulatory process became so encumbered that they couldn't ship Apple Watch on a regular basis. Basically, you'd have the consumer Apple Watch, and then you'd have specialty health products that could ship at a slower schedule because they'd require so much approval. So I think the biggest takeaway here is that Apple's getting closer, but close can be years still. And I think the other thing is that we've seen with like fingerprints, they all were terrible, and then Touch ID came out, and now on all phones they're pretty good. And a lot of people are trying to crack this technology, and I think one of them, whether it's Apple or someone else, will crack it, and then everyone else will quickly crack their versions of it as well. That tends to be what I think we see in technology. So I don't think it'll be bottled up at Apple at all, but I think it would be super great for everyone who wants to wear an item like this on their wrist.
Yeah.
I read the article and I immediately thought, well, wait, how many people have diabetes? And I went and looked on the American Diabetes Association website, and I had no idea. It's 1 in 10 Americans, folks over 65, 25% approximately have this condition. So, holy wow. I mean, that is a lot of people who could really benefit from this. And that's just the people who have diabetes. I immediately started to think about athletes. I'm thinking, whoa, I wonder if you had a sports watch that did this, if you could actually predict or get some feedback about when you need to start like eating a gel or, you know, having some kind of a snack. So I think there's going to be not just medically for people with diabetes, but in the whole sports watch industry, there could be a lot of interest in a technology like this. So it's going to be really interesting.
Would you be interested, for instance, in a VO2 Max monitor that could measure your oxygen, blood oxygen?
Totally.
Level? Yeah.
Every runner wants one of those.
Right. So heart rate's really important.
Yeah.
I think there are VO2 Max sensors, in-ear sensors, and other ways to measure that. I don't know how accurate they are.
Yeah, there may be. They're not. It's not a mainstream thing. They have mainstream heart rate sensors, but either they're not very good or they're kind of awkward. So people use them, but they don't love them. Apple
Watch is the best breastbone heart rate sensor I've used. I mean, it's very accurate.
I think that kind of like the serious athletes aren't necessarily
they need better than that. Interesting.
Yeah, as being it's kind of more of it's good. It's just they can work on it.
Really? You don't think so? That's interesting. So it's not accurate enough.
For me, I don't wear the Apple Watch tight enough. It doesn't really get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people wear Garmin for the GPS. I mean, some people really escalate every independent aspect of their training.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're serious, buddy, you have like a chest strap, right, that goes around. And it's like really, it gets everything.
Yeah. So. Those are the most accurate, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is just the ability to just keep track of all kinds of data just on a continuous basis. Blood oxygen level, the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, people who are training, but also if you have asthma, if you have history of heart disease.
Yeah.
This is the ability to not only give you a warning saying that, okay, you really want to slow down right now because I'm not seeing what I'm liking, or the ability to simply once you have traded the amount of paperwork you need with your doctor to say I'm I'm going to give you access to my health records that I've been storing on my watch, to say that not only can I say, well, geez, I was feeling kind of tired after I was lifting some heavy boxes, but also saying, here is you can actually just pull out your iPhone, and here's the graph of blood oxygen levels for the past 3 weeks. Say, yeah, why don't you call your wife or husband and tell them you're not going to be home tonight. Have them bring some pajamas. We're definitely going to want to keep you under observation for the next 36 hours. It's this sort of incidental data collecting that, again, not connected to, I don't like what my phone is saying, I'm going to the emergency room right now. That would be a disaster for healthcare. But the ability, when your doctor has a question, to be able to answer it with a chart on your phone, that will not, it's not just saving lives, it's like alerting somebody to a condition before their lives need to be saved. When a stent can solve a problem, but before would have been, no, you had the sort of heart attack where all we can do is keep you from, it's they're coronary events for which there are no solutions, and it's horrible to think that at some time during this person's medical history it could have been detected and headed off many years in advance. That's the sort of stuff that if Apple were to do that, I believe that Apple is absolutely sincere about their corporate mandate to improve lives through technology, and I still think that health is where they're really spiking the ball there. Just HealthKit, just ResearchKit, those alone are really, really great things. And I'm sure that they're not satisfied with the Apple Watch as a style device and as a sports training device. I really think that is their MacBreak 1.0 of their idea for this watch. Yeah. They really want it to be, this is something that you put on your wrist, and it will be collecting information that belongs to you, but will help you in a myriad of different ways. And once they have the ability to just through shining light through your skin to be able to figure out that here is some data that is going to be very important in 3 years' time, that's so in line with their mandate.
There was a great story in the Daily Mirror, I think, in the UK. It was terrifying but terrific at the same time, where someone had an accident and the vehicle spun around, and I guess their phone flew away and they couldn't reach anything, but they held down the button on their Apple Watch and it automatically called 911 for them. And that's a situation where you're literally helpless and you have a device on your wrist and it can get you emergency treatment and save your life. And I think those kinds of features, and try to publicize them as much as possible, those are the kinds of features that wearable technologies excel at, because your phone won't go flying away. You won't drop it. It won't be under your seat. It won't be in your pocket. It's right there and you can get to it.
Right,
Apple,
or if you had a watch, you could use the emergency button right on the wrist.
Yeah.
Right. Apple is still working on a self-driving car, or maybe they applied for this a while ago, but they now have permission from the California Department of Motor Vehicles to test three Lexus RX 540h SUVs, 6 drivers approved for testing autonomous vehicles.
Not ever.
Chinese ride-hailing service Didi Chuxing, which Apple is a big investor. They put $1 billion into it. Recently set up a self-driving car lab near Apple's headquarters. So maybe this is not something Apple's doing. Maybe it's Didi, or I don't know.
If they're working on software, they'll need to test it on the road.
Yeah.
Right. Also, Google's next generation self-driving cars are Lexus SUVs. Lexus has also announced, I think, that they're going to have their own they're going to, not autonomous, but a lot of self-driving features by 2020. So it could be that they just this happens to be a platform that has all the sensors they need. It's a good platform to simply test software on, because they don't have to really, because they don't have to turn it into a time traveling DeLorean in order to actually test out the software.
I want a DeLorean now. Thank you, Andy.
I do too. I kind of have a DeLorean. I have a Tesla Model X. That's about as close to a DeLorean as
88 miles per hour.
And I frequently say when I put people in it, where we're going, we don't need any roads.
Why is it like it's got that really huge screen dead center? I know it's facing the wrong way, but why is there not an Easter egg that will just turn that into a flux capacitor screensaver or something?
I'm sure
Elon,
somebody's done it.
I know you listen.
That's my only lack of faith in Elon Musk, that he does. That was not like in version 1.0.
He has never in his life done anything.
Not enough of a sense of humor.
Tree huggers unite. Apple is apparently buying all the good trees For the new
OLED panels, trees, like just Google might have anything.
now
for
they're building literally a walled garden. Hey,
apparently in San Francisco they're building a transit center which has a 4.5-acre green roof that's going to feature 469 trees. But according to the San Francisco Chronicle, quote, buying trees is a surprisingly cutthroat business, and it's been especially challenging to locate desirable specimens because Apple has been buying up 3,000 trees for its new Cupertino headquarters. When the folks building the transit center found a tree they liked, they tag it with a locking yellow tag so that nobody else like Apple could get it. Eventually, all the tagged trees were moved to a nursery in Sunol where the Trans Bay team leased 4 acres.
They got all the good leaves.
They're
the best
fighting.
block.
They're fighting.
Like NAND flash wars all over again.
Well, you know, you got a big campus, and
tell you what, we'll trade you 8 trees for 10,000 OLED screens.
8 birch for 3 elm.
Apple is opening up to workers later this month, and apparently there's 3.4 million square feet of offices and 3.5 million square feet of parking.
All filled with supercars.
11,000 parking spots for 14,000 people. So somebody's going to have to carpool.
They got the bikes.
Or you just can't all work at once. So 28 shift workers.
Shifts.
Yeah.
Like
Tonya
in
would just
the
run. She doesn't
Chinese
need a-
factories.
Actually, a good percentage, I didn't know this, but a good percentage of Apple's staff uses alternate transportation, including vans and carpools, 28%. So, you know, you don't really need all those parking spaces. That's all for the journalists who are going to be arriving in September for the first.
No, I think that's all for like the
event.
senior executives with the $300,000 cars that are going to park across 3 spaces so they don't get dinged. That was probably part of their
And
thinking.
there's 9 cars in storage. I mean, come on, how many cars?
Apple is.
I did read someone who was writing about maybe they're just being a Debbie Downer, but they're saying what's nice is they're keep proclaiming that this is going to be an energy neutral building. It's one of the greenest buildings ever, but they're kind of faulting Apple on having so many parking spaces. That to be one of the next generation sort of green ideas they could have done is saying that we're going to specifically have fewer parking spaces that we would have put in this building if we had built it 10 years ago, as a way of sort of forcing us to create other solutions for ride sharing, to increase to increase public transportation infrastructure, to basically keep fewer of our employees commuting in a gas-burning vehicle every single day, which is an interesting way of thinking about it. Just goes to show that green has so many facets to it, and there's always going to be a way that as good as you're doing, there's always going to be a way to improve it on some level.
Apple
Feels like every strip mall there would be torn down for parking spaces. They'd rent out to Apple employees for $10 $10 a head every day.
Apple told Bloomberg that 96% of its energy comes from renewable resources, wind and solar, and they're trying hard to get all of their suppliers to do the same. There are a total of 7 Apple suppliers now that say we use solely renewable energy to manufacture components for iPhones and so forth. That's pretty remarkable. Their goal is to use only renewable energy throughout the world. They already do so in 24 countries, including the U.S. Apple and its suppliers expect to generate over 2.5 billion kilowatt hours per year of clean energy by the end of next year. And, of course, that's why there's solar panels all over the new headquarters. In fact, so many they'll generate excess power, and they plan to sell it, which is another little profit center. Another billion-dollar business for Apple.
Pretty soon it's real money.
We have that going on right here at Tidbits as well. Adam and I in our very own backyard have gone net zero. We have 3 huge solar panels.
Nice.
We drive 1 conventional car, and we have a electric Leaf for our other car. So we literally can get up in the morning, get in our car, and drive on photons.
Isn't that nice?
And we can even sell extra back to the grid if we have any. It's pretty fun.
We've been doing the same thing.
It's happening with Apple, but
Yeah.
It's happening all over.
We have 30 panels on our roof, a Tesla in the garage. Lisa still has what Tesla fans call an ICE car, an internal combustion engine car. But you like the Leaf because she wants to buy the new Leaf when her lease runs out.
I have driven the Tesla and I have driven a Leaf. I would say that the Tesla is so fun to drive. The Leaf is also very fun to drive, but the cost difference between the two is kind of the difference of how fun they are to drive.
That's why Lisa's buying a Leaf.
But yeah, it's a great car. It's seems to be quite reliable. It's incredibly peppy on the hills. And it's just so fun to be like waiting in the high school pickup line for your kid, right? And all the other cars are these huge SUVs and they're idling and all this. And your car, you can play the radio and you can have the heater going and you're using just this tiny little dribble of electricity. It doesn't smell, it doesn't make noise. We've really enjoyed this car. I
have to say, when I pick up at school, opening the gull wing doors is always
space shuttle.
Space shuttle. A little more of a scene.
And Michael always knows which car to get into.
but Leo, I have to say that having the dry ice pods, that's overkill. I think that's less impressive than ostentatious.
I like to play really loud, the final countdown as I open the da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. Let's take a break and we will get to your picks. I don't know if they warned you, Tonya, but we'll be looking for a pick. It can be a take control book, anything you want.
I've got a pick going.
Nice. So do I. I have a good one. But first, a word from the tracker. A coin size. I have my tracker. Yeah, here it is right here. A coin size. I have actually trackers all over the place, but my favorite place to keep my trackers on my keys, and then I chain my keys to my briefcase. That way, it does double duty. I probably shouldn't tell you that in an ad for the tracker. No, you should get one for each. But that you can do that. In fact, the tracker is so cool. It's just a little quarter-sized anodized aluminum, very light, replaceable battery, so you don't have to throw it out when the battery dies like the other guys. This is awesome. And the worst thing is when you lose your keys, you don't notice it till you're late for work or you're almost late. And then you're going, where are they? Where are they? It's the stress it adds to your life. With the tracker, you never have to worry about losing things. You can locate not only keys, but wallets, bags, computers, bicycles in seconds. The tracker pairs to your phone. You can track up to 10 devices at once in the tracker app. They have family sharing, so you can have several phones tracking the same tracker Bravo. This is nice. I track Michael's backpack, and he does too on his phone. But that way he can't say, I don't know where my backpack is. I can say, I know where it is. Shows up right on the map. And, I love the tracker's GPS crowdsourced network. Now, the tracker itself is not a GPS device. It's Bluetooth LE. Your phone has the GPS. But if you lose your device and somebody takes it somewhere else, it's out of the range because it's only about 100-foot range, don't worry because there are 4.5 million trackers out there all over the world. And whenever anybody running the tracker app runs across the tracker, it automatically sends a signal to me. So if somebody, accidentally carries my keys off, I'll find them again. I'll know exactly where they are. And if you know where it is and you're approaching it, there's a distance indicator now in the tracker app that shows you if you're getting closer to your items. I love that. Warmer, warmer, colder, warmer, warmer. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Try it today. Go to thetracker.com. Use the promo code MacBreak. And you'll get a free Tracker Bravo thrown into your order. Just an extra tracker for whatever you might be losing. Stop losing your stuff today. Go to the Tracker, TheTracker.com. Use the promo code MacBreak to add a free Tracker Bravo to your order. These things are great. These things are awesome.
Guess we just got one.
It's a nice feeling, and there's a little button you press it. Your iPhone will scream if you press the button, and in fact,
I gave it to her for her birthday. She said she lost her wallet for the last time.
Does she have an Echo? Because if she has an Echo, you can actually tell the Amazon Echo, find my keys, and it's really fun. It's really good. I love it. All right, time for our picks of the week. Why don't we kick things off with you, Tonya Engst?
All right. My pick of the week, it's a little predictable. My pick of the week is the Strava Apple Watch app.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why this is cool.
This is I've been wondering which is the best. So you're a runner. Right. This is good.
So I run. I also bicycle a lot. And my go-to app for these activities is Strava. And this is because, first of all, it does so much. It has a zillion features for analyzing your workouts in every way imaginable. But more important, it's the social networking site for athletes. And I have probably like 50, 60, 100 friends on Strava, and we're all social networking in there about what we do and what we're going to do next.
Nice.
So it's pretty compelling. But even if you're not, a trail runner or a cyclist like I am, you might just like to walk. And the best part about Strava, like the feature that just grabs you, is that it creates kind of a breadcrumb trail on a map of where you were during your walk, your run, your skate, your ski, whatever it is. And then you share that, among other things, with your friends on Strava. And it's very fun. It's just huge fun. So to get that breadcrumb map, you've got to have a mobile GPS or a mobile device. It could be an iPhone, but it could be any kind of smartwatch or whatever. And it's got to have a GPS chip. No GPS chip, no map. So that was a huge problem with the Series 1 Apple Watch because it didn't have a GPS chip. So you could get Strava to work from it kind of, sort of, but you had to have your iPhone with you at all times. If you have your iPhone with you, you might as well just run Strava from the iPhone. There's not a huge benefit to running it on the watch. So when the Series 2 Apple Watch comes out, it's got the GPS chip. So yay, step one. But now Strava has to remake their app to work well on the watch and to, be able to communicate with the GPS chip. So they have done so. And I'm very happy to report that it works very well. It seems to be giving me basically identical data to what I was getting from the iPhone, but also to what I get from my Garmin sports watch. And the Garmin sports watch is, I would say it's kind of the gold standard of sports watches to use a Garmin, but there are other sports watches that are actually really good and people like them too, but nobody would sort of argue with the Garmin. So I've been really enjoying using it. I find that when I go biking, I don't even need to take my Garmin anymore, and I can just wear one watch, the Apple Watch, just push the button. It works really well. I think they did a good job with the internals of getting it to work, but the interface, it's very simple. It's very clean for kind of what you can do on the Apple Watch. I think they did a great job. So if you are a walker or an athlete and you're thinking about using Strava and you have an Apple Watch, I recommend downloading the app, getting it installed, and giving it a try.
Very nice. I've been trying a lot of other ones like Runkeeper, and I will try Strava. And I note, by the way, when I joined Strava, Adam seems to go out and run all the time. I guess I'm not following you, but man, Adam is out there all the freaking time. He's running, he's riding, he's going around. Man.
Yep. We are having a good time, and you can see Adam's got friends giving him little thumbs ups and stuff. So when you get on, I want a friend request on Strava.
I will. Nice. Really cool. Strava.com. Rene Ritchie, your pick of the week.
So mine is, as funny as it sounds, is also quasi-outdoorsy and workouty related. As things have thawed here, I've gotten back into the parks, and I use using the Pokemon Go Apple Watch workout app because, as funny as it sounds, I find hiking really, really boring. And if I can gamify it, that just makes it much more interesting to me, and I'm much more likely to spend more time doing it. And I've actually gotten lost and forgotten how much time I've been out there, and ended up walking like 10K when I didn't really mean to, just because it's so much fun. You see deadlines, you see like things in front of you, you have like small goals. But the problem with having even the Apple Watch app is it doesn't actually catch any little Pokemon for you. It'll tell you when they're there. It'll hatch eggs and stuff for you, but it won't let you spin Pokestops. It won't let you catch things. And so you're always looking at your screen. You get the notification, you pull your phone out. And I hate that because it returns me to that sort of crunching Bill Gates stature that I'm trying to get out of. I want to stand up like a human being, like a super person again. And I don't want to be slave to my phone screen. So I got this for my godsons and myself over the Easter holidays. It's called a Pokemon Go Plus. It's a little accessory made by the Pokemon Company. And all it is a Bluetooth accessory, and it pairs to your phone. And whenever there's a Pokestop or a Pokemon there, it flashes with a light. And you press that light, and it'll try to catch it for you. And it's very easy to keep on your wrist or to keep on your hand. And you can walk like a normal person.
You actually bought that. I can't believe
I bought several of these. So it was so much fun. Because I wanted to take them to a new park every weekend. That's my goal for the summer because I've discovered so many of these things. There's just so many around me that are really nice that I never noticed. I just was driving past on the highways all the time. But there are acres and acres and acres of really beautiful land, and they said that they'd come with me, and that's great. And this is sort of just an extra motivator. So instead of having them slave to their phones, I have their phones in my backpack, and they have this little button they can press, and later on they can check and see all the stuff that they got when they were out. and they really enjoyed it. And there's a Pokemon event going on right now. It's their spring event where you get like double experience points and you can hatch a bunch of extra eggs. And they're loving it because they were on holiday in Quebec. You know, Easter is a big thing because Quebec's a really religious province. So they've had 4 days off of school, and we've gone to a new park every day. And they just press this little button, and we're running around. We walked around the lake. We walked along a riverside. And it was phenomenal, and nobody was looking at their phones. We were chatting, we were talking, and every once in a while they were pressing this little button. And then when they got home, they got to look at all the stuff they managed to collect, almost like a scavenger hunt while they were out. It's not inexpensive. It's about $40 Canadian, which I guess is like $12 US or whatever it is these days. And it pairs very simply. And if you have kids who share phones, like because you don't have a phone for the kids, obviously, it pairs per phones. You don't have to worry about unpairing it and repairing it just because they switch accounts. So it's really easy to set up and use. And they had a blast with it. And I find it like a little bit much all the time. But when you're out with a family and friends and stuff, and you're all just walking, it was awesome. We had a lot of fun with it.
Very nice. How much is it?
It's Canadian. It was like $40, but that was I ordered it off Amazon, and that was the total it cost.
So when
me.
when it first came out, they
you couldn't buy it. Like it was out of stock forever, and
Yeah.
now it's in stock again, which is how I managed to pick it up.
Nice.
And for people who are actually serious about the game, I managed to get like 2 million experience points over the weekend with it. So you can level up fast, folks.
2
Rene,
million.
you be you, Rene.
That would never change.
I mean, again, so it's super.
Don't even mean that as an insult. I mean, just that is so satisfying to me because that you're so enjoying your innate Rene-ness with this device. Okay, I didn't mean
I just
the way
love
that
it because
sounded.
I'm out and enjoying myself more than I have been in years, and it's a lot of fun for me.
Andy and Akko stole my pick of the week, so I'll share this with you. Go ahead, Andy.
We'll make it a
great
pick of the week. There's enough awesomeness in this.
Yeah.
Archive.org, the Internet Archive has the holy task of preserving all creation, all knowledge, all humanity in digital form, in any form they can get it at. And for a while, they've had the ability to even preserve video games by having emulators for old arcade systems and old game platforms. Recently, however, just this month, they introduced in web browser Macintosh emulation. So it's not just they have System 6, System 7, MacWrite, MacPaint, Dark Castle, all the old games that you know and love, a lot of the old productivity stuff. The legendary Microsoft BASIC that was the first big turf fight between Apple and Microsoft over the future of reality. But you don't have to you don't have to download all these emulators and these sort of not quite legal places to make it run. You just simply double click it, and within the web browser, it will launch an emulator, tiny emulator because it's only a tiny Mac screen. And I'll be darned, it is the exact experience of booting up a Mac, seeing the happy Mac, seeing it boot into the game. Your mouse is the virtual Mac's mouse. For gaming, it's a little bit hit or miss because some of the audio doesn't work quite right. But Leo's playing Dark Castle right now, and it will be such a nostalgia bullet to the brain of hearing these sounds and seeing these things for the first time since 1986, 1987 for old timers. But even people who weren't really mastering their ABCs back then, just to be able to play with MacPaint and MacWrite and see that, oh my God, you have to hold down the mouse button to keep the menus down. Oh my God. The only thing that could have made it better is that I don't think there is a way that you can write in MacWrite, and it's actually fast enough that it'll actually keep up with normal typing. I wish that there was some way to get the files out again, because it literally is an emulated Mac with virtual floppy disks. So you're booting off the fake MacWrite disk. You are double clicking on the MacWrite icon to create it. You are saving files, and the files appear on that virtual disk. But when you shut down, of course, that disk goes away. I really wish there was a way that I could sort of drag it out of the emulator and onto something else, because it would be. I have used Mac emulators on Raspberry Pi, and those things are a lot of fun. it would be kind of fun to just, if I'm having this sort of day where I just need to distract myself and trick myself into working, to say, you know what, I will spend today in MacWrite 1985, and that's going to be my work environment. Unfortunately, you can't Apple Talk there. If you go into the control panel, you can't turn Apple Talk on and off, but there is no way that I can tell to get it to see the other computers on your network. Maybe that'll happen sometime in the future.
I mean, how crazy do you want to get here? Apple Talk? You want Apple Talk to work?
I want the whole thing. I don't want to be just like 52% ridiculous. I want to be 100% impractical and insane. I want to have this. I want to have everything. Yeah. And I will also say that I just love the idea of just like a piece of music doesn't become trash just because it's 230 years old, and the culture that it was designed to entertain is long dead and buried. It's worthy of preservation so that people can still listen to it, because it isn't. Yeah. It is a piece of art. It's a piece of craftsmanship, and it's the expression of someone's worldview. And I think software is the exact same thing. So it really is wonderful that someone can, again, fire up Mac Paint, and maybe they don't understand why this was revolutionary at the time, to be able to draw with a mouse and see black pixels on a white background, but they will have at least some of the experience of what people went through and what it was like for those people who survived the 80s.
If I could just get these lemmings not to fall splat, I'd be much happier. Gosh darn it. Aw. Oh, well.
What's next? Beer run?
they also have Shufflepuck, which was my favorite game of the entire 80s. Oh my God! Like the amount of exercise that Rene gets in Pokemon Go, that's how much exercise I got with Shufflepuck, because it's air hockey, and it uses like your mouse as your air hockey stick, and so you're actually sliding something on a flat surface just like you would. It responds to like putting English on the ball, and it was like, oh, I would play this game like in the student computer lounge, and just be like standing up at this desk cursing the thing because I'm in full John McEnroe mode, say, no, come on, I hit that in time.
Yeah. Anyway, by the way, HyperCard also available if you boot up the 7.0.1 system compilation. It has HyperCard in it, which is, as well as Shufflepuck. In fact, we played Shufflepuck on Twit on Sunday, and it was so fun to see that again.
Imagine how cool to be able to create your own disk files locally.
Wouldn't that be nice?
And then introduce them into their like for HyperCard to be able to like load up your old HyperCard stacks or save this. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the evolution of this. I think this is 100% a great thing to happen in April, and it leaves me like throwing my wallet at the screen, because I just want you people to have money. You did wonderful things that made me happy.
Jason Scott gets credit for at least uploading it, and I presume for writing the emulation. And this is the System 7 booting. Cannon Fodder, Risk, Shufflepuck, and if I can get the mouse to move, you can see that HyperCard is also in the app folder, as well as Mac Draw, Mac Paint, Microsoft Works. So this is like everything. This is like a compilation, the System 7 compilation. Boy, it's fun to see this again.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah. Actually, maybe it's just a HyperCard player, not a HyperCard creator.
You're like iPhone running in the holodeck one day.
Yeah. Put this on an iPhone, I'd be happy.
That would be HyperCard 2, so that's the Claris edition. I think they had a player. I think they had a player in addition to HyperCard regular. So maybe there's another HyperCard there.
This one is nice because it has 2 hard drives. You know.
Yes, there you go. You got a whole 8 megabytes of storage.
The other thing that's really great about this is it's not an April Fool's joke.
Right.
It's really doing that. It is April, and it's not a joke. It's for real. But Andy, I think what's going to come is they're going to start a monthly subscription service, $12.99 a month, and then you will be able to get your stuff in and out, just like you were describing through the whole, Apple Talk, control panel or whatever they called it back then thing, but it's a desk accessory, I believe it would be. Yeah, $12.99 a month.
Actually, Jason is one of the archivists.
On April 1st.
Oh, never mind. You can read fun things like that in Tidbits. You better subscribe. I don't know why you wouldn't be. And
oh my God, that would be so cool, Tonya. If you and Adam just found a way to like work with them so that people could read like the tidbits of 1985, 1986 in the hypertext form. Didn't you have an app? Didn't you have a HyperCard app?
Yeah.
We have the first 100 issues, so a little over 2 years, were in a HyperCard stack. We ran into this little problem where we didn't anticipate that we would go out to 100 issues. We only programmed
2 digits.
for 2 digits.
2 digits.
So a couple things started to change around then.
2 digits. That's funny. Thank you, Tonya, for being here. Great to have you. Don't forget tidbits.com. Become a sustaining subscriber and help keep this amazing resource alive for 27 more years. That is just really fantastic. And don't forget the book series, too. The Take Control book series is really a great resource if you want to learn something about almost anything. At tidbits.com. It's great to see you, Tonya. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks to Andy Anako, Chicago Sun-Times, and his website, cwob.com. Follow him on the Twitter. And I love his picture. I love the picture on the front page there. That's awesome. Always a pleasure. Read him in the Chicago Sun-Times. Rene Ritchie, he's at imore.com. Does a lot of podcasting over there, too. And the new iMore Yellow app is out.
Yes.
So get it.
Thank you.
Get it. And a review of the S8. Wow.
Yeah. It's the all-new iMore. Florence Ion did the review for us. She's aces.
She's actually going to be on the new Screensavers. My co-host on Saturday and is bringing her S8. I just got notified by my bank that they turned down the charge. Best Buy was about to charge me and ship it, so I'd get it on Friday. So I quickly got online and said no. But I think now I'm not going to get it till Tuesday. Thank you, Bank of America. You suck. All right. I don't have this problem with any other credit card, but our company card is a BVI card, and it gets dinged all the time. They just don't want you to buy anything.
It's totally out of character, Julio.
Well, I was so hoping to get my S8 on Friday. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. We do MacBreak Weekly every Tuesday. A little delayed today thanks to Facebook, but we'll be back at our regular time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC next Tuesday with the gang. If you can't watch live, don't worry. You get on-demand audio and video of everything we do at our website, twit.tv. For this show, it's twit.tv/MBW. You can also find this show and all of our shows everywhere you get podcasts, including, of course, the fabulous Overcast and Pocket Casts and Stitcher and Slacker and iTunes and on and on and on. Thanks for joining us, but I'm sorry to say you better get back to work because break time is over.